Hey YouTube, welcome back to Dwayne's World. So today is part 2 of my overseeding project. So if you want to see all that equipment I showed you in part 1 being put to work, you better stay tuned. Part 2 of the overseeding project. I am sure this part is going to require the most work by far. But I'm very excited about it because I get to use the Allett. And the Allet's going to make it a lot easier for me to be able to complete this project. So in thinking about it, all the equipment that I highlighted in my video, which I will be using, I thought about the order in which I would use each of those things. Now I think a lot of people may start by just scalping and scalping off as much as they can before they do any of those things. But what I like to do is take a little bit of a different approach. Well, my plan is to run the Allett Verticutter first. And I'm going to run it in a couple different directions. The nice thing though about whether I'm verticutting or whether I'm scarifying with the Allett is that it has a catcher. And I'm really looking forward to that because that's going to help with a lot of the cleanup. Even though I know that it's going to do a good job catching those clippings, this is where the rotary mower is really going to pay off. Because the rotary mower is not necessarily going to cut the grass, it's going to basically suck everything up. And that's why I'm using that. I think after I do the Verticut, my plan is then to use the Scarifyer, then to go into the rotary mower and just clean everything up. Then I'll do a scalp. And then from the scalp, then I'll determine whether or not I need to Verticut again, Scarify again, and use the rotary mower again. I'm sure I'll probably have to use the rotary mower one more time before I ultimately end up throwing down my seed. That's the order in which, in my head, I'm thinking I'll do something. I may change it a little bit, as I go, just depending on what I see. But that is the plan that I wanted to be able to outline for you guys today. So with that, let's get a mowing. All right, just really quickly, I've already removed the side cover and the bolts holding the reel in place. I'm going to go ahead and remove the 10-blade reel. There we go. And we are going to be replacing it with the Verticutter. Very awesome. All right, so there we are, Verticutter all installed. Got my bolts locked down, so now we are ready to Verticut. All right, so one thing that's interesting, obviously, about the Liberty here in this version is the fact that it's battery powered. So I'm curious to know how long these batteries are going to last. The nice thing about these Greenworks batteries is that there is a battery indicator, and I'll zoom in so you guys can see that. So basically, there's 4 bars here that basically show you how much battery you have in here. Now, when my buddy lent me this mower, he gave me 2 batteries that he had for it. One is a 5 amp hour, which is the one I have in my hand, and one is a 4 amp hour that will also most likely need to use as I'll be doing multiple passes. So when I did the comparison between the 6-blade and the 10-blade, I barely went through any of the battery, to be honest with you. But because of the fact I'm going to be using it in a much more aggressive manner, such as the Verticutter and the Scarifyer, I'm sure it's going to put a little more drain on that battery. So I'm very curious to see how long they're going to last. My plan is when I start verticutting, I'm probably going to start going this way, and I'll do directional this way, and then I'll come back and go this way as I'm doing the verticutting. So let's see how it works. I'm going to leave the height of cut of where I had it yesterday, which was about 3/4 inch. I'm sure I'm probably going to need to drop it, but at the same time, I'm not sure how much it's going to take up right now, so I figured let me just leave it, and then I'll adjust it as necessary. And again, I will be using the grass catcher. All right, so in each of those 2 passes, really nothing was coming off. So I'm absolutely going to need to lower the height of cut in order to see. So right now, again, it was at a 1.5. I'm going to go ahead and move it down. Move the setting now from a 1.5 to, let me take it a little further here, to a 1. So we'll see what that cut's like, and hopefully I get something coming off. All right, so it is surprising me a little bit because a little bit is coming off, but not like how I want it. So we may have to drop this bad boy all the way down in order to get it to cut. So I'm going to take it to its lowest setting here and see what that does. Okay. All right, so as you guys can see here, now I'm on the absolute lowest setting, and that is an S. So we'll see how low that actually cuts. Hopefully this works. All right, so those first couple passes definitely brought up some material, which was great to see. You know, I wish there was a lower setting, to be honest with you, but at the same time, it is working. As you can see here, you know, we are bringing in some debris into the basket. So I'm going to keep going, and we'll see how much of this basket will fill up before we need to empty it. All right, first pass done. You can definitely see where the Bermuda is kicked up. Now this is still going to require some cleanup. However, if you look here in my basket, that's pretty much what's come off at this point. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it actually this direction right here. So we'll see how much more comes off, and then after that, we're going to go ahead and scarify. Go ahead and dump this out. This is again 2 passes, only about a third of a basket, I'd probably say, that was full here, but I could already tell that it's starting to weigh down the front. But let me go ahead and dispose of those clippings. All right guys, so let me show you guys where the battery is at currently if I hit this. So as you can see there, I have 2 bars, and again I ran this a couple different directions. My estimation, probably mowed or verticut about 2,800 square feet and used half of the first battery. So again, same time, it's not too bad, I think. I'm going to give it a couple more passes here just to get a couple areas that I may have missed, just to give it a real good cleanup, and then I'm going to come back and scarify. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look to see what it looks like so far. I just want to stand back here for just a second because hopefully, guys, it's coming through on the camera, but you should see little slits, and that's what we're looking for. That's saying that the verticutter is doing its job and getting through the turf the way it's supposed to. Now, as you can tell down here, it's really roughed up the turf, but I'm not worried about that. All that will be cut off anyway. But I can definitely see huge advantages to using a verticutter multiple times throughout the growing season. So with that, definitely looking forward to moving on to step 2 here, which is scarifying. All right, so as you guys can see here, I went ahead and installed the scarifying cartridge. So what I'll do for my first couple passes here is I will not put the catcher on. I will catch most of it afterwards, but I just want to show you guys, you know, the scarifying cartridge in action. What I did also do is I went ahead and swapped out the battery, even though the other battery still had 2 bars left on it. I figured I wanted to start this session with, you know, a fresh battery. So the other one's sitting on the charger. We'll see how long that takes to charge. And then probably swap them back out, you know, kind of in between here. So with that, let's get on to scarifying. All right, I already figured out rule number 1 as it relates to this scarifying cartridge. Please use the grass catcher because it definitely makes a mess. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and put the catcher on. And as you guys can see there, I really kind of tore up the turf here, which is what I'm looking for. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start our second pass in the opposite direction. And I can't believe how much debris actually came out of the lawn. All right, so let me be honest with you. The more I kept scarifying, the more and more grass just kept coming up. It's amazing. I feel like I could do that thing all day long and I would never run out of thatch. It's like an endless cycle. One thing I did do, just because of the fact, and let me show you here. All right, so let me jump in here just really quickly and show you what I did before I rotary mow. So rather than just do a few more passes, just, you know, in a forward, back, and left and right direction, I went more like in a circular direction around that flower bed there, and that really helped bring up a lot more of the debris. And I think it was just because of the fact that the mower, I think, operated a lot easier than trying to climb a slope. I found that it obviously did a lot better going down the hill than up the hill. So when I did this circular motion, kind of similarly to how you would do an aeration, that definitely worked. So with that, let me go ahead and do the rotary mow, and we'll go ahead and clean this thing up. All right, so here we go. Hopefully we get a start on one pull. One pull. So I probably emptied my bag a couple times. As you guys can see here, this trash can's almost full and I haven't even got to my scalp. Oh, yeah. But at the same time, the rotary mower definitely did a great job cleaning up all that lifted Bermuda and kind of gave it a nice, clean, level appearance now. So definitely love the way it's looking here. All right, so there she is, the California Trimmer with the grass topper to catch the clippings. What I'm going to start with the 5/8 of an inch high to cut setting, just to kind of take a little bit off the top there. Then what I'll do is I'll drop it down to 7/16 and I'll see if I can go any lower than that. We'll give it a try. So with that, let's get on to our mow. All right, first cut down, I'm gonna go ahead and drop the height of cut to the 7/16 setting. Again, you guys probably saw me do that double pass. I went this way and I went this way, so now I'm gonna drop it down again and do the same passes again. yeah, definitely not going over 7/16. That was kind of scary, to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever had such a tough time scalping, to be honest with you. It's a lot of work. That mower is absolutely going to need a back lap and or a new reel and bed knife after this one. I think I was cutting more dirt than I was grass, to be honest with you, but let me show you. So if you look, there's green around the edges, and that was on purpose just because the mower was, really starting to jerk as it would hit some hot spots. So I did not want to bring that mower into the concrete that way by accident. So I stayed away from the edges just out of safety and out of caution, for the mower. So same thing around the flower bed here. As you can see, I'm going to just basically hit those areas with the trimmer. But I definitely am happy with this scalp. I could probably even at this point just throw seed down, to be honest with you, once I get it cleaned up here. But I'm not going to do that because I still want to do a dethatching. So here I verticutted, I scalped, scarified, rotary cut. I'm going to edge, and I'm going to use my trimmer. And then what's next is I'm going to dethatch. And then we'll take a look to see what it looks like thereafter, whether or not I need to do another scalp. I'll definitely need to do another rotary, and then before we lay down the seed. So with that, let's get to some trim action. So now we got our edges done, got our trimming done. Still a little bit of green here, and that's okay. I probably could have beat it up a little bit more, but that's fine. One of the things I'm going to do now is I'm probably just going to run the rotary mower over on top of it again, just to kind of give it another cleanup, suck up any of the debris that's there. And then I'm going to run my dethatcher all through it, and we'll see what that does, and go from there. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and start dethatching with the electric detacher here. One thing I'll say is after I rotary mowed and kind of cleaned it up again, you can see a lot more of the soil. So, we all know that real mowers don't do a great job picking up grass. So what my plan is with the detacher is really to set it down pretty low, because I do want those tines to be able to get into the soil. Just right kind of skimming the surface of it, that's my goal. And at the same time being able to pull out whatever thatch is still left in the ground. And with that, let's get to work. Alright, so I gotta say, without ever using a detacher, outside of cord management, that thing does a lot of work. I am amazed at how much thatch is coming out of the ground. And again, it is digging into the soil here, as you guys can see. And that's really what we want, is really to kind of agitate that very top layer of the soil to really allow the seed to have its best chance of germination. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back over it again with some more dethatching. However, it is kind of a mess right now, so I just feel like I'm dethatching on top of dethatching. So what I'd like to do instead is I'm going to go ahead and use the rotary mower again, clean it up, and then I'll do another pass. So I decided to get the Allett back out because I'm going to do some more scarifying. I feel like I can get some more of the dead debris out of the lawn. Even though the Rotary Mower is doing a great job of it, this I think will just take it to another level. So I'm going to go ahead and scarify again. Yeah, this is definitely working. Definitely worth it. Now the only thing I'm thinking is, do I give it one more scalp? And I think I'm going to try it. I don't think you need to. I could probably throw seed down at this point, but I'm going to give it one more scalp with the California Trimmer, and we'll see if it pick up. I'm sure it's going to take off more grass, so we'll see what that looks like. God, every time I do that, I feel so bad for my California trimmer. I'm gonna have to buy her a new reel and a new bed knife at this point. Forget the back flap. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here. Oh yeah, definitely happy we went ahead and did that second scalp. So now, as you can see, we can see a lot more of the soil, and that's really what we wanted. We wanted to be able to open up the canopy here, so that way we get really good seed to soil contact. It's really gonna help out the germination. I'll be honest with you, this has probably been the most aggressive I've been with my Bermuda lawn. But now that we did this scalp, there's one more thing we also need to do before we lay down the seed. And that is another Rotary Mow. Yes, I know. The poor Rotary. But at the same time, you got to clean it up. All right, so I think that's going to do it for the mowing, the dethatching, the scarifying, the verticutting, the edging, the trimming, the scalping. That's enough for one afternoon. So, you know, all we have left now is I'm just going to blow down the lawn here, get off any last debris I can with my blower. So I'll bring out my Ego backpack blower that I showed the other day. And then from there, it is the last part, which is going to be the most satisfying, which is throwing down that grass seed. All right, definitely happy with the way this looks. This is exactly how I pictured it should look after I'm done with all of the different steps that I have taken. So with that, let me go ahead and show you what type of seed I'm going to be throwing down, because that's the last step before watering it in. All right, so this is what I chose to go with. This is Wonderlands, made by Barenberg, perennial ryegrass. I chose this grass. It's not the most highest quality ryegrass that's out there, but based on the reviews, it looks like it's very good for overseeding. So that's why I chose to go with it. You know, I could have went with their Turfline RPR if I wanted to. You know, probably would have been about 50% more in price. But at the same time, I thought about it and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to end up killing off this grass, you know, when springtime rolls around. Now, if I had a perennial rye lawn all year round, then of course I would have used a higher quality seed. But because of the fact this is just an overseeding project and really just a test for me to see how much I like it, maybe next year I'll end up doing maybe the higher quality seed if this all works out. So at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and use my Home Depot bucket to kind of measure out how much seed I'm going to need, along with my trusty luggage scale that I've shown you guys before to be able to measure out fertilizer. And I'm going to measure out probably 8 pounds, but I may split it up into 4-pound increments and just do more passes so I ensure that I get good even coverage with the drop spreader. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this grass seed here. Let me kind of just show you what it looks like. So if you look here, you know, it's just your typical perennial ryegrass seed. Now some of the higher quality grass seeds actually come coated. This doesn't have any special coating on it. However, when I was talking to a friend of mine actually that was doing some overseeding with some higher quality grass seed that did have that coating, he did mention through the drop spreader on the Scots, it did not want to spread as evenly because this grass seed is so much thicker with that coating. So he thought that this type of seed is definitely better for the Scott spreader. So we'll go ahead and see. So let me go ahead and see how much weight we have in here. I think we're close though to the actual weight that I need. All right, so I know my bucket weighs 1.8, 1.9 pounds, something like that. So I'm going to subtract that from the total here. Okay, all right, so there we are. 5.8, that's almost perfect. So that's about 4 pounds right now. That's what I want to be able to put on as a first coat, and then I'll come back over with the second coat as well with another 4 pounds. All right, so let me show you where I have my Scott spreader set to. Now this might be a little bit too low and I'll have to adjust it, but right now I'm at about a 6. Now I believe that you should be about a 10 or 11 when you do drop seed. So it's about half that rate, but that's what I want. I want to be able to do more passes and have better even coverage when I'm applying this perennial rye. You know, I don't want it to go too heavy in one area and light in another. This is really going to allow me to keep it consistent among my lawn. All right, so as you can see there, I do have my seed loaded into my hopper. Now we're going to go ahead and throw down the seed. All right, so as you guys can see, I still got quite a bit of seed here in the drop spreader. So what I'll probably do is measure out another 4 pounds, load this thing up, turn up the rate, because I feel like right now I have pretty good coverage throughout the lawn. All right, so I added in about a little under 4 pounds. So I think I probably have maybe 2.5 pounds left at the end of the day, which will be good, because then that way if I need to do any additional touch-ups after it germinates, if areas aren't growing in, I'll have some backup. So that's the way you want it. You always want to plan for a little bit extra versus running out and not having enough. All right, so one thing I'm going to do just to kind of wrap up and kind of clean up here is I am going to use my leaf blower. Now, I know. Don't freak out. I'm not going to be going at any high speeds or anything like that. I'm going to actually go at a very, very low speed on my handheld Ego, and that's going to allow me to really control it. And that way, all I'm doing is really blowing the seed that's on the sidewalk into the very edges of the lawn. Okay, so with that, let's get it blowing. Doing anything. right, so there we go. So what I plan on doing, I'm not going to obviously heavily water, as you shouldn't when you're seeding. You really should just do frequent light waterings. So I'll probably do 2 to 3 minute cycles multiple times a day, at least maybe 3-4 times a day at least. Every couple of hours is probably my guess. My last watering will probably be close to 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock maybe. And then from there, I'll probably let it sit overnight. Basically what you're not wanting to do, you don't want to drench it, you don't want to have runoff, you just want to keep your seed wet whenever it comes to this seeding project. So I think my sprinklers are set up pretty well here for pretty good coverage. There might be an area over there near the divider between my neighbor and my lawn where I may have to get in some hand watering if that one sprinkler is not hitting it. But at the same time, it looks like it's definitely going to be a successful project. All right, so I got to be honest with you. You know, when I started this project, I thought I would be kicking the Bermuda's butt. No. It kicked my butt by far. But at the same time, it was a lot of fun being able to put together this video. You know, when I think about all the equipment that I highlighted in part 1 and I used here in part 2, you know, did I have to use everything that was there? Was it a requirement? Do you need all those things in order to do this overseeding project? And I would say by far, no. And even though the Allett was extremely helpful in this overseeding project, I would say it was more of a bonus than a necessity. There was a couple of things that did bother me though about the Allett. And mainly it was because of the verticutting cartridge. I wish I was able to get the verticutter to actually cut lower, almost like a negative height of cut. Now I think some other mowers that have this cartridge system have a negative height of cut just for that reason. So I wish it was able to get into the top layer of the soil. I think it would have worked so much better in how that cartridge could actually go to the next level. The other thing, the Scarifyer definitely made a difference. You know, I felt like I was able to pull up a lot of debris, which ultimately in the end saved me work versus having to deal with all that. So when it comes to what equipment I thought was probably the MVP of this entire project, even though the Reel mower, the California Trimmer, did a great job and you need one of those in order to scalp, there were 2 pieces of equipment that I felt like made the job a lot easier. The first one, which kind of surprised me, was the electric Dethacter. That really got into the top layer of the soil, brought out so much debris as you guys had seen there in the video. And that I think ultimately is something that you should really use if you're doing an overseeding project. The second piece of equipment that I felt like was very important was the Rotary Mower. So even if you rented a commercial Dethacter, it does not have a bagger. You still have to clean up everything that it leaves behind. But if I had to sit there and rake up everything from that Dethacter, oh my God. And that's where that rotary mower, in my opinion, really made a big difference. I must have used that thing like 20 times today just to be able to clean up the lawn, clean up the lawn, clean up the lawn. And even though it's not necessarily designed specifically just for that task, you know, it's designed to cut grass, it works awesome, in my opinion, to be able to really clean up debris anytime you need to do that. Now, so at the same time, you know, this overseeding project, I would say absolutely. Do you need a Reel mower? Yes. Do you need a Dethacter? Yes. Do you need a rotary mower? Yes. Do you need a drop spreader? Yes. And I think those are the things that you absolutely have to have in your arsenal if you choose to do an overseeding project. Now, can you just scalp and throw seed down? Gardeners do. Seems to work. But I think if you want a better result, you need to use the Dethacter because it gets into that first layer of the soil, which would definitely help the seed to be able to germinate. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. As always, be excellent and party on.